I'm Bob Spinozzi, and welcome to another edition of Healthy Living with Emerson Hospital. Well, it's time to take out the sweaters, the turtlenecks, and corduroys. Colder weather is here, and soon it will be the kickoff to the holiday season. Now, for some of us, the holidays start on Halloween, but for most of us, it's Thanksgiving. That's when the traveling begins in earnest, with families and friends getting together with gifts and lots of great food. On today's show, I'm going to talk about healthy eating during the holidays. And joining me in this discussion will be Emerson Hospital registered dietitian, Sarah Powers. After graduating from Georgetown University, Sarah received her Master of Science in Nutrition from Simmons College in Boston, and then did her postgraduate internship at Brigham and Women's Hospital. Sarah also holds a degree in culinary arts from Le Cordon Bleu. I caught up with Sarah at Emerson Urgent Care in Littleton. Sarah, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thanks for having me.
You know, a lot of us read food labels, look for healthy recipes. What got you started in nutrition as a career?
So it was a way for me to combine not only my interest in health, but my interest in helping people, and then also my knowledge and passion for food and cooking. I actually went to culinary school, and then I went to get my master's, and then at that point I did my dietetic internship and worked full-time at Brigham and Women's Hospital. I primarily focused on inpatients at that point, so people with very severe chronic illnesses, they're very sick. I ultimately made the switch to Emerson Hospital at the Center for Weight Loss. It was a way for me to help prevent or change the trajectory of different chronic illnesses.
So Sarah, when you say you're a registered dietitian, what kind of training do you have to go through for that?
Yeah, so it's actually fairly rigorous. So you have to do a variety of science classes, including anatomy and organic chemistry. So you have to get a baseline of the science requirements and also nutrition requirements. At that point, you then apply to a dietetic internship, and it's a very rigorous process. I think the match rate at this point might be 50%. So you match. I got matched at Brigham and Women's, and then at that point, it's about a 9-month process, 9 months to a year. You do various rotations, whether it's clinical rotations, outpatient rotations, adults, children, different disease states. And so once you finish that, you can sit for the registered dietitian test. So after all that work, you then can actually become a dietitian. And
then you have to renew it every so often too, beyond that?
So you are required to have different continuing education credits. So over the course of 5 years, you have a certain number that you have to reach. So you can do that by attending conferences, reading different articles, various types of continuing education credits that are available.
You know, I talk to a lot of patients. Some of them are on restricted diets. Now, this time of year, holiday season, there are going to be parties, and some of the folks attending are going to be on diets, allergic diets. How do you get around that?
So that certainly can be complicated when people have a variety of different things, from food allergies to diet restrictions, as you mentioned. So I actually myself suffer from food allergies, and if it's severe enough, what I typically recommend is someone might bring a food item or meal that they feel comfortable eating, or oftentimes if you're not sure what the party might look like, have something in advance so that you're not stranded and you can make a safe choice once you get there.
Sure, and you're going to know to be careful too if you're allergic to, if you get an allergic reaction. For instance, if you see pesto,
yep,
you're going to ask, does it have the pine nuts in it? Something like that.
Yeah, and it's not just whether it's in it, but it's cross-contamination too. So a host might not make a dish that specifically has that ingredient in it, but did it touch something else? So depending on the scope of the allergy or the severity of it can be pretty serious.
And if you had an allergy, you're just going to be very careful anyway.
Yeah.
So, well, anyway, there's temptation all around us this time of year coming up. What are some of the things that we can do to watch ourselves from putting weight on?
Sure, that's a great question. So one thing I commonly see is people try to skip meals to kind of make up and for a bigger meal or a bigger party later on in the day. And that type of mentality often leads to overeating later on. So you often get very hungry, it's hard to make a healthy choice, and you end up overeating. So it doesn't necessarily save you calories later on. Exercise is another thing. So it's cold, it's dark, it's really easy to not exercise, but exercise is so beneficial for our overall health, our mental health, and also our weight. So that can be an important thing too.
So when you're going to that party at night, make sure you have something during the day to eat. Don't get there super hungry.
Exactly. Kind of plan ahead. So prepare. If you know that you're going somewhere later on, what are you going to have earlier in the day? What are you going to have when you get there? So if it's a buffet, for example, scope it out. Plan ahead. See what you actually want. It's not to say you can't have that favorite food that you've been dreaming of all year long, but how does that fit within your meal, and how does that meal fit within your day?
Right. And if you're at that buffet, don't hang around the buffet table all night either.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now, if you are having a party, what are some of the good alternatives that you can serve that are low fat, low cal?
Sure. So I think it's important to remember that you don't have to compromise flavor and taste for health sometimes. So there's a variety of different recipes, whether online, in magazines. Cooking Light is a great one that I go to a lot. They have different recipes that might suggest a slight substitution for ingredients, so it's offering a healthier alternative. For example, if you're making a baked item, sometimes they'll recommend swapping out applesauce for butter. If you're making something with a heartier dish with, say, a sauce, instead of adding butter or cornstarch to thicken it, you can actually reduce the overall volume of the liquid, and that gives a bolder flavor without the extra calories. So with these slight switches, you can still have the foods you love, but without the extra calories.
And if you're making a dip, I don't think sour cream tastes any much different than yogurt.
Yeah, a lot of times Greek yogurt can be added or substituted.
Now, you mentioned the cold weather coming up. So what are some of the things that we can do to avoid putting on weight? When I know I'm not as active.
Yeah.
So.
One thing I would recommend is to stay hydrated. And so oftentimes it's very tempting to choose those warm flavored beverages from your local coffee shop, but you can easily add 400 to 500 calories, 50 grams of sugar in one drink, and you're not necessarily going to feel full or feel satisfied with it.
That can be very deceiving for a lot of people if they don't read labels. Juice, actually, it adds up when you drink.
Yeah,
juice.
What I tell people is that an 8-ounce glass of orange juice is essentially equivalent to eating 3 oranges at that sitting.
Yeah, that's it's amazing when you think of it that way. Most of us aren't as active with the cold weather coming up. What are some of the exercises that we can do?
You don't necessarily have to go to the gym, and I think that can be a hang-up for a lot of people because they might not be gym goers. But there are a variety of exercises you can do in your own home, whether they're exercise videos, using resistance bands, certainly even sometimes people will go to a mall and walk the mall. So it doesn't have to be the gym itself. As the snow comes, shoveling is also great exercise. So there's little things that you can do, but always thinking about how can I get a little bit more movement in during the day without necessarily thinking of, oh, do I have to go to the gym?
Yeah. So most of us older folks aren't as active with the winter months coming up. Tell us some of the exercises that we can do.
So senior citizens can go to malls, go to big stores and walk the malls, and it gives also a social aspect to it. They can do exercises at home. Even doing resistance training can be, lifting a can of soup. It doesn't have to be a 50-pound weight exercise band. So you have an ability to do what you can without hurting yourself while still staying active in the colder months.
Just keep moving, basically.
Yeah.
I know when I go to the supermarket, I'll park far away so that I can walk a little bit.
Yeah, and trying to get little bouts of activity during the day. So, if you do 3 bouts of 10 minutes, that's still equivalent to the half hour.
So is there anything else that we should really keep in mind to stay healthy with the holidays at our doorstep?
I often recommend that people try to avoid having that all or nothing type of mentality. So while you might have had a heavier meal or indulged in a dessert later on or earlier on in the day, it doesn't mean that that whole day is somehow ruined. You know, you can always make a healthier choice later that day, make a healthier choice later, you know, that week. You don't have to suddenly give up.
None of us will.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Sarah.
You're welcome.